Hi. You mentioned that people on both sides of the conflict are tired of it, and you also mentioned that nobody really wants to give in. We know that attitudes at the grassroots has evolved a lot between the beginning of Oslo, the Second Intifada, what happened afterwards. What do you see as the trends in both populations in terms of how are things moving? How are the trends flowing in terms of acceptance of each other or rejection of each other, and the Palestinians accepting the fact of a state for the Jews, which is not for the Palestinians next to them? How do you see these evolving?
I think there's sort of two opposite processes going on. 20 years ago, according to Israeli law, it was illegal for Israelis to meet with members of the PLO. And in fact, at the Madrid Peace Conference in 1991, I was there, and the Israel television reporter, Channel 2 television, Ehud Yaari, who speaks perfect Arabic, said, "Oh, good, you're here. I need you for a minute. I need to go meet Rashid Khalidi." Now, Rashid Khalidi was my professor at Georgetown and is a very prominent member of the Palestinian community here. He's now at the chair of the department at the University of Chicago. And I said, "Oh, do you want me to introduce you?" Thinking, "Oh, I'm going to play an important role in here." And he said, "Oh, no, I know him better than you do. But if you're at that meeting, it's not illegal. If I meet with him directly, it's illegal and I could get arrested. Just sit there and don't say anything." So things have changed, and in fact, in 2008, Saeb Erekat said to me that the Palestinian flag in Prime Minister Ehud Olmert's office, when Olmert and Abbas meet to negotiate, is twice the size of the Palestinian flag in Saeb Erekat's office. So on one hand, you do have a change in that the idea of a Palestinian state has become mainstream. Benjamin Netanyahu talks now about a Palestinian state next to Israel. That's a huge change. On the other hand, you do have an increase in people, I think, in sort of people feeling uncomfortable and nervous about the other because they know the other less now in some ways than they did 20 years ago. So there are really kind of two opposite trends. And on one hand, so the current Israeli government, which is one of the most right-wing governments in Israeli history, is talking about negotiating a Palestinian state. So it's there. I think things have changed in some ways. And I think that there's a certain, I think there's a window of opportunity and time is running out. And I think that people who oppose a two-state solution, and I understand people's fears, I understand how can you trust the Palestinians, these things that people have. More and more Palestinians are saying it's too late for a two-state solution, let's have a one-state solution. And a one-state solution, they say to Israel, okay, annex the West Bank and Gaza. That means that annexes 4 million Palestinians plus the 1 million already in Israel. You've got 6 million Jews, 5 million Palestinians, one person, one vote. And I think and that's obviously something that Israel is not willing to accept. Since 1967, Israel has had a problem. It wants three things, it can only have two. It wants to be a Jewish state, it wants to be a democratic state, and it wants to control at least the West Bank, if not Gaza, because of the Jewish holy places there and the Jewish ties to the West Bank. It can't have all three. You have to pick 2 out of 3. And that's, I think, the process that's going on now. Maybe I'll just take 2 more questions. Okay. Oh, okay, thank you, all right.
Yeah, Linda has a speaking engagement in Long Beach, so I was going to suggest everybody who's in the line, but if
all right, everyone who's in the line is okay.
If you haven't got the time for
that's
it,
okay.
I'll understand. I have to tell you, what Steve said about you at the beginning, getting criticized on both sides, Israel Committee has experienced this before. We're going to get it after you. And so what I will say in advance is, I apologize and thank you.
Hi, Linda, and let me know if I misunderstood you, but my understanding was that among the Israeli Arabs, they must go to the Arab line of education. And we experienced that in this country. Being from North Carolina, I was part of it myself, where the blacks had to go to a certain, and separate and equal was anything but equal. What will it take to get equal funding or to enable people to go to the school of their choice?
Well, they can go to Jewish schools. Most of them choose not to, either because their Hebrew isn't good enough or they don't feel comfortable in Jewish schools. So it's not that they can't go to Jewish schools. They can, but very, very few do.
So what will it take to get funding
to get
them
funding,
equally
look,
educated?
Right. I think that again is really one of the challenges for Israel, which is how do you treat the minority in your midst? How do you increase the educational level? The fact that only 20% of these students are coming out with a bagrut means they can't go to university. So Israel has to do more. I mean, and I think that there has to be more funding for Arab schools. I think that there has to be a real push to increase the level. I don't think that integration of all schools is necessarily the answer, because the Arab schools are taught primarily in Arabic, although they do learn Hebrew as well. But I think for sure that the Jewish schools should be open, and they are open to Arab students who want to come. If Arab students want to have their Arab track, in other words, I said the parents choose at the beginning, but I think that there has to be more governmental money, and if there's no pressure, there's not going to be money. So that has to be one of the issues that the American Jewish community is pushing for, is better education for Arab citizens of Israel.
Okay, so I'm going to try and put my undergrad major to work here.
Okay. I hope it's not going to be a speech for too long.
No. So I'm a communication major, and my question's more about media as a business. What I've been learning is that today's media focuses on a business plan of niche marketing, in the sense that it's easier and more profitable to sell a product to people who already want to buy said product.
Right.
So my question is kind of twofold. It's much easier. Or the general consensus is, conservatives listen to Rush Limbaugh and Glenn Beck, and liberals listen to NPR. Right. And how do you get from the bottom up, how do you get the consumers to get out of their comfort level to intellectually challenge themselves, increase their media literacy, as my professor would say, and therefore get a more fair and balanced and pluralistic idea? And then from the top down, how do you change almost the structure of media, kind of getting rid of the for-profit drive and getting out this is the information?
Well, you're sort of asking a really broad question.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I think that there is definitely a move towards hyperlocal reporting and feeling that people, what they really want to read about is what's happening in their neighborhood. And in terms of getting people to leave their comfort zone, I don't know that that's necessarily our job. There's more people getting online. I think this is going to have to be the last question. I really do apologize because people keep getting online. So I think there is a trend to, I think that, people do listen to what they agree with. First of all, by the way, I just read an article that the best way to fight Alzheimer's is to read and listen to things that you disagree with. And they say that it actually forms new neural pathways. Now, my father and I have disagreed about politics since I was about 5. He is Jewish and a card-carrying member of the Conservative Party, not a Republican, member of the Conservative Party, and he has lamented my political ideas ever since. And I showed him this article, and he thought I made it up. So I think when it comes to news, I think that you can bring a horse to water, you can't force them to drink. I think all we can do is put out the best product that we can. And, we really try hard about this. I remember when I first started at NPR and, someone said to me, well, if you did a 3-minute piece, what'd you do the rest of the day? You don't just, I wish it was that easy. And I think that most of us go into journalism. We certainly don't go into journalism to make a lot of money. We go into journalism because we really care about journalism as a way to educate and to inform people. And I think that there's a very sad trend in American journalism in general, which is a move away from foreign news. And I think that, given the fact of the role that the United States plays, I think we have to have more foreign news, not less of it. Thank you very much.